is going to profit from this wall. So that's not just
Right. Well, the
made
call earlier
out of
said if
nowhere.
if the government, if you do a national emergency, then contracts go out the window and they can manipulate a whole lot of stuff. So we definitely got to keep that by a dear for 8 years. So she may even have a word. She's doing something called a financial fast, and I love the hashtag Stay Woke Not Broke. Um, Very close to ours, Get Woke. So I wanted to come on and talk about that, and how why this. Zena, good morning to you. How are you this morning?
I am so grateful and thankful to be with you today. Uh, Good to talk with you, Mark.
What? Thank you. I'm sorry we're running a little bit behind schedule, but we definitely wanted to get you in. First of all,
No worries.
you worked in the federal government. You worked in the Clinton administration. What do you
Yes,
experience? You've been through the shutdown before.
I have. I started with the administration in 1993. By the way, our mutual friend April Ryan told me to tell you hello. We've been texting each other back and forth this morning.
Good morning to
Uh,
her.
Office of Personal Management, which is the HR agency, if you will, for the federal government.
Right.
And I had necessarily we were very, very concerned about survival because it doesn't just impact federal employees, but it impacts federal contractors. It impacts
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
services and how the services are rendered to people in need, whether it's seniors and veterans and children. I saw the other day, I get, because I'm raising a family member's child, and she's 5 now,
Mm.
and I got an email from the school system saying that we want to make certain that the parents understand for those students who receive free and reduced lunches, which we I don't have to worry about, I thank God. But there's so many kids that rely on that and
Mm.
depend on that meal,
Mm.
those meals, and but the county was expressing that they would make certain that they would uh, offset whatever is lost in that for the moment to make certain the kids eat in the schools. So this is a serious matter, and I just, as I was listening to the speech last night, and certainly seeing where things are in Congress or are not, I'm just praying that there is something that can be worked out where we can get things rolling again. Because I have family members. I have a cousin, and both she and her husband work for NSA. And so they both are unemployed right now or furloughed. And the only person that's working in their house is their nephew who works at Lowe's.
Mm. Lord have mercy. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is this is this is scary. Dr. Zena Pierre with us, folks. 20 minutes for the hour. Zena, tell us if you would about what you're doing right now. The Stay Woke Not Broke financial fast.
Well, about a year ago, I saw an article on CNBC, I think it was, and it was talking about women who really need to take a more active role in their financial lives. And I looked at my credit and
Uh
the
oh.
worthiness or the lack of, and I started preaching about you are what your credit says you are, because
Mm.
it is true. I mean, when you look at your credit score, and it is a score that is lower than the average across the U.S.,
Mm.
that's an issue. When you're in the 550s or the 500s or the 400s, anything below 650 is not the national average.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw my credit score, I was ashamed, Mark, because I said, here I am in leadership, and it's not like the income at this point is not coming in, but I wasn't paying enough attention to my credit worthiness. And some of it was old stuff that I didn't pay attention to that should have been off my credit report that I could have disputed on my own.
Right.
There were
Right.
things that were erroneous on there. So it wasn't just a neglect situation. And a lot of people think, oh, my scores are low because I didn't pay a bill. Some things could be just erroneous information.
Right. And
So
just
I
take it off.
hired someone. And it was I called someone and said, "Hey, listen, I hear that you can teach people how to get into a place of strong credit worthiness, and I need that help. And so, because you can't teach what you've never gone through. And so my goal over the last year and all of 2018, which got me to this point today, was I began to wake up about my finances. I hired a new accountant. That accountant is also a financial advisor. I started staying in touch with my tax accountant to just make certain that I was in order in those areas. The credit guy started clearing things off that needed to come off, and it was amazing. I went up 100+ points in 9 months.
Wow.
So it can be done, but you gotta put the work in. And so when at the end of 2018, I started looking at my credit and saying, "Wow, God, this really works if you work it." And so I came up with the title "Stay Woke, Not Broke," because so because so many of us walk around and we look good, but the truth of the matter is, if we saw the bank accounts that's connected to the St. John suits, the custom suits, the Rovers, and the nice cars that many of us drive. It's not just people who don't have access to resources the way others do. Credit does not discriminate.
Yeah. Well, and this is Women's Wednesday. I think this is an important conversation to have, because we just all, I think part of what you're describing is also the busyness. Most of us don't even bother to look
Right.
at it. And speaking of business, again, this is Women's Wednesday. Women at more than half, if not more, of households now are
Yes.
headed by women.
Yes,
And
50%.
who got the time? I'm sure when you looked at some of that stuff, you said yourself, "Well, doggone, if I just had the time, if I wasn't so busy
Right.
being a head of household, raising a child, doing all the things I got to do, maybe I would have looked at my credit and tried to fix it." So, hopefully it's a wake up call for people to take the time. So this is a 21-day fast. I presume that part of the fast includes sitting still for a minute and looking at your credit and seeing what really shouldn't be on there.
Exactly. One of the things that we're doing is we're using Michelle Singletary's book, because one Sunday I was preaching in last month, and I told my congregation, which is a new congregation, we've only been in existence for about 7 or 8 months, and I told them, this time next year, I decree and declare over your lives that you will not be broke, you will not be living from paycheck to paycheck, you will not be struggling in the area of your credit. We're going to address this. And so I started this series, Living My Best Life. And part of that living my best life is this campaign, Stay Woke, Not Broke, because the millennial women are doing it. The average salary of the millennial women out here that are in a professional field is $75,000 and up. And so they're getting it because they understand that that currency matters in this day and time. What you have in your bank account will speak to your worthiness of what you have access to. That's just reality in this day and time. We're not in in a time now where we have, back then my mother and my father both worked, but when he told her she didn't have to work any longer, there wasn't lack in our home.
Right.
He was a great provider, and he believed in saving, and he believed in having good credit. And even to this day, he has the best credit. There were times when I had to get him to co-sign on vehicles because his credit was stronger than
I know that's
mine.
right. I know that's right.
But I can tell you this. Since I've been on this journey over the last year, for the first time in a number of years, my credit rating is low. I was able to buy a new vehicle this past year in September with a low interest rate because my credit is in a better state. My savings is in a better state. I still have an IRA that I've had for over 20 plus years, and now I'm feeding back into it because at one point I let it sit for years and did nothing but let it grow off of what was already in it. So that's the whole issue of this Stay Woke, Not Broke, that we awaken our minds and our spirits to understanding what Deuteronomy 28 really means. And that's been the theme in this thing for us, because I am a pastor. So, I'm not so heavenly, focused and bound that I'm no earthly good. But the reality is the word will work if you work it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Well, folks, what we want to do is, and I wish we had more time. This is
I know.
amazing, and in terms of your ministry, folks. So this is a sister minister, a queen minister who's helping people get their financial stuff together. If you want to know more about this, is it thebreakingroom.com?
Yes, it is.
But thebreakingroom.com, folks, check it out. That's our Women's Wednesday for the day, and I hope people will be motivated and inspired. Because if we can't get it straight, folks, we can't move forward. Zina, love you, and thank you for joining us.
You.
Okay.
And follow me on Facebook, Zina Pierre.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Zina. Folks, we'll be back. This is MIP.